In this segment, what is ours to do? And I'm going to tell a bit of a story that happened to me when I was around 8 years old, 10 years old, around that time. So let me put the basis of what we're going to be talking. I'll tell you this story. So if this revelation is real, if the book that we are talking about and the source that we have is real, it changes something fundamental. That knowledge always comes with responsibility. Every previous revelation left behind a community with a mission. Machiventa's followers had a mission, the early Christians had a mission, so this question becomes unavoidable. What is the role of those who understand the fifth revelation? And we're not here trying to become, above anybody else or anything. We just have access to this, and anybody can have access to this. And we voluntarily, serve, and we have found that in this transformation that we have lived through, and sharing this really dramatically changes without imposing any religion, any God, or anything of ours into anybody else, but really for individuals to understand their right place in the cosmos and within that relationship with God. So I think that really drives us, and this really sets the stage of what's happening. So before I give it up to you, Derek, I just want to point out a very interesting thing that happened to me when I was in Sunday school when I was about 8, 10 years old. And in Mexico, it wasn't on Sundays. It was actually like on Tuesdays and Thursdays. In preparation for your first communion, you would go
Right.
in the afternoons to your local church, and all your friends were there and everything. And I remember one day, and they'd set you up in different groups depending on your age and whatnot, and I was with my age group and a little bit older kids. And there was one day, one of the afternoons, that was really dark. It was really, really pitch dark. Something was happening, a storm. And one of the guys said, "Oh, maybe it's the 3 days of darkness." And I'm like, "What? What 3 days of darkness? What are you talking about?" Well, it says here in this book, in the last book, and since we're in Sunday school, that was the topic, called
Yeah.
Revelations of what's going to happen, and this is the fight between good and evil and the devil, and that really blew my mind, and that really made me realize that what I was understanding, or what was there in this, what I was going to Sunday school, wasn't just history, that there was future things and future events to come. And from that moment on, I really had like a longing and a desire and something to be part of this celestial battle that was on hand, going to happen as described in Revelations. But, I was sorry, 8, 10 years old, but back then. Now that I'm older, I see that there is something happening. There is a transformation, not an end of the world, of course, but a situation where everything is changing in the way that we conceive and perceive God. And all these conversations that we've had really teaches us that this is part of what it's all about. It's an evolution and in the understanding of God and of us as human beings. So
Yeah.
tell us what you think of what's to come, Derek, and why do we have this book, and why is the world going through all this situation?
Um, I think, as I said when we were talking about Jesus, his bestowal was really a turning point for us, and everything revolves around this Lucifer rebellion, because that's where all of the darkness and confusion for us started. Right? It
Hmm.
just totally took us off the natural course of what's supposed to happen on a normal evolutionary world, and Jesus has started putting us back on this new course. So it's only 2,000 years ago
Hmm.
that this rebellion has finally been finished, closed,
Hmm.
okay, um, officially ended. And like that's such a long time. Like it's so hard to wrap your head
Yeah,
around,
we're
right? So
we're
it's
picking the pieces at
200,000
least. Yeah,
years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
200,000 years. And everyone's like, why is it taking so long? Like, can't God just go like that or whatever? But, um, there's half of paper in the Urantia book that talks about why they have let things go the way they have.
Yeah.
And out of all of them, I think the one that the one I'll say right now is that we are talking divine lengths of time,
Yeah.
right? So Lucifer himself is billions of years old. Jesus, who we know as Michael, he's definitely even older, but like he's definitely, well, he's from paradise, which is why I'm kind of stumbling on that. He
Yeah,
comes
he is
directly
eternal.
from so I'm not, I don't know if he's actually eternal. I think there's an actual time when he was created,
Okay.
but he hails from paradise. So but I mean we're talking billions and trillions of years old,
Yeah, the
right?
concept of time
So
there is different. Yeah,
yeah. So I the point that I'm making is what's 200,000 years to them?
yeah. Or
Right.
2,000 years for that much.
2000, yeah. So I actually did the math and I'm going to get it wrong, but if like time is relative as well, right? So
Yeah.
time on Earth, even compared to time on Mars, is completely different.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of years, right? Like we measure
Mm-hmm.
a year by how long it takes our planet to go around the sun. Well,
Mm-hmm.
obviously every other planet takes a different amount of time, and so time wherever you are in the universe is
Yeah.
reckoned completely differently.
Yeah.
And so where Jesus's seat is, where Michael's headquarters is, their time is reckoned basically four-ish of our years is 1 year of his time. So since since his bestowal here, it's only been like 340, 350 of his years, you
Yeah,
know.
it's really
So
relative. It's really small compared. Yeah.
right. So, I think for most people who read the Urantia book and understand the rebellion and understand that the Urantia book says that in conjunction with the publishing of the Urantia book, the first hearings of this tribunal against Lucifer has started.
Mm-hmm.
So then the spec, and we're speculating here now because speculating's awesome and it's fun, especially with information like this. But um, the speculation is, well, okay, so they started the hearing in well, usually they measure years by about 1934 from the Urantia book. So in and around 1934, they've started these hearings. How long is that going to take? Because what everybody wants to know is when is the rebellion going to be finally adjudicated so that our quarantine is lifted?
I have an opinion on
And
that.
I want to hear it. Yeah, because everyone's got opinions on that, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
I
to
think
hear
that's some.
people's. Yeah,
I think that's something that's been in everybody's mind, and
yeah,
I have this opinion, and especially what I've seen personally, and what the development, especially the speeding up of recent events, and I'm not gonna get into the planet events because we've all seen, economic, militarily, we've seen the pandemic, we've seen all this situation that we have. But I've seen a quickening and I've seen a redirection of, before a lot of people, what a lot of people weren't really sharing or was within circles. But now I see, a great longing, maybe if we can go back into maybe what the apostles felt in Pentecost, like that drive and that longing. I see a change within the community where everybody wants to share. And this is a consequence, this program and a lot of what we're doing, this podcast is of that. But I felt something, and I really, there was. I can even say there was a meaning here. I don't know how high I went, but something happened during the time when the sea change in the Vatican happened, where I believe that this is what I feel, and like I said, this disclaimer is my personal opinion, nothing, but I believe that adjudication came, and that not only these guys were adjudicated, but the remnants of the people that were here, the guys that were here, the two guys that were missing, Caligacia and Delegacia, were apprehended and they were taken. And that's why there was such a big shift. So now we don't have those influences, and now we are, let's say, ridden of that situation where everything is now will not have that influence. So I see, and this is just speculation, and I see that
yeah,
change. And you see when it happened, right at the Sunday of Easter Sunday is when Pope Francis died, and then the time it had, that I see that period between his death and the naming of the new Pope, there was something, there wasn't not only a cardinal conclave, but a celestial conclave of what's happening. And if we said this is the pivotal point where the center stage in our history where things are decided and taking, moving forward, this is the place where they decide that. So at the same time that this was being adjudicated, or these guys were putting out, new plans were being drawn. And new things is like, okay, so what do we have? Where are we at? What's moving forward? And you can
Yeah.
see after the naming of the new pope, boom, a lot of the things, and not only with us, the UB community, a lot of the things that are happening in the world, was happening politically, geopolitically. Suddenly everything, everything was in potential. Oh, let's attack here. Let's, everything was, what happens if we do something? Suddenly, boom, there was suddenly a catalyst, and I'm not gonna argue in favor or against, but we needed something to catalyze, a
Yeah.
catalyst to
Yeah.
set everything in motion. So I
Yeah.
see that. And just to close that information with this, there was a special visitor that we had, and just kind of made a round here, Three-Eye Atlas, and I know that all
Right.
my UFO folks are going to be anxious to hear this part, but I see that this maybe, I kind of think of how do you sever connections with the celestial higher ups? Is there something physical that comes in, and you see the way that this all happened, and I think, and this is my opinion, would have this been something like a drone or something where they sense from outer space to start getting all the connections back and start, putting the wires back, putting the circuits back? I don't know. Maybe this is just going beyond, but I see that all the the things at this point and how it sped up and how it went, and it was going to come pass by us. And if the sun is the center of our gravity and everything is being pulled by the sun, then I kind of put two and two together. Then it had something more to do with what's happening. But anyways, that's just my speculation.
I'm going to add something to this
All right, all right.
because what you're saying is really interesting, and it's a convergence of sort of events that you're kind of talking about. So that's why I want to add something. So, um, the Urantia book talks about different types of resurrections,
Yeah.
and the big ones, especially the big ones, usually accompany the transition of one dispensation to another, and a dispensation is usually marked by the arrival of a new Son of God, right? So you've got the
Mm-hmm.
planetary prince come, and then when Adam and Eve come, there's a dispensational resurrection where everybody is resurrected, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's other kinds of resurrections as well. So depending on how spiritually advanced you are, if you have spiritually advanced to the point where you have a personal seraphic guardian, and there's more to it than that, but
Mm-hmm.
you can, in the same way that Jesus did, die and resurrect on the third day or third period, right?
Okay.
So that would be a more direct resurrection, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are also special resurrections that are decided way above our pay grade, that, but they're special. So, so for example, when Adam and Eve died, that was about 500 or 600 years after they arrived. There was a special resurrection for just the people involved in all of those
Okay.
events, and they were resurrected. So that's special. So that doesn't happen too often. But the one that I want to add here now is there are also millennial resurrections
Okay.
every 1,000 years, and those, I think, were disrupted by the Lucifer rebellion. But
Okay.
now that that's all been stopped, like Jesus came and he ended that, right? A whole bunch of things started up, and we're told that direct resurrections started up again.
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
don't have to
so
wait for these
dispensational
collective
resurrections, right?
resurrections. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So now that these millennial resurrections are going again, if you count back to the last dispensational resurrection was basically 30 AD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when like we're told, that's when the
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
dispensational. So you take that, and so a millennial resurrection would have happened in 1030, and then the next one is going to happen in 2030. So now we're talking, well, around these times, and I've actually done a little bit of research, but it's not publishable and super shareable yet. But I've taken this idea and I've been sort of researching, well, what kind of things happened after 10,030, not 10,000, 1030 AD,
Yeah.
that might signify some sort of spiritual cleansing or something like that
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
energies or whatever. And there was actually a lot of things that really shifted. Like that was the beginning of the shift out of the dark ages, in the 1, 2, 300 years after that.
Okay.
Really started shifting out of that, and then the universities started. We have Gothic architecture,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was the
all of this kind
like
of,
the
yeah.
turning point of this situation. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's where we are.
So I'm sort of thinking, well, it's like it didn't all start exactly there, but if a resurrection is able to somehow, and I'm just spitballing here, obviously, cleanse sort of spiritual energies that have been hanging around for 1,000 years that were pretty dark, dark ages and all of the conflicts and, all that kind of stuff. If those are removed and there's a lightening and then some, it makes room for a quickening of progress or something like that, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
what I was looking for. So now I'm thinking, well, especially with what you've just said, what could happen after 2030 if there's a millennial resurrection then? And, the adjudication has taken place. They're starting to reconnect everything. And then all of this really heavy sort of energy over the past 1,000 years is removed as well. And then I
And the
think
changes that are happening, by the way, that we don't know how this year is going to end, and
no,
the geopolitical changes in the practical world that we live in the material world that with secular world that we live in, are changing as well. So we're not just talking about cosmic; everything is changing in
no,
this
no, no,
planet
no.
at this time.
This is absolute planetary. Like we're talking the shifting and reshaping of civilization and the evolution and eventual perfection of
Yes,
civilization, right? So
yes.
obviously we've been for the post-war period, we've been in this really crystallized structural, world order that's sort
Like you
of
said, Pax
disintegrating.
Americana, which I
Yes,
like
that's what it
that
is.
expression.
Yeah. That's
It's
the
and
that's the
it
term.
becomes a mirage if
Yeah.
it's not, and that's why this is all breaking. Why that mirage
Yeah.
that it's all breaking definitely.
Yeah. And within these periods of intense change and struggle is when the new stuff can arise, like you were saying before.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not when everything's solidified and just solid. It's in the periods of intense change and struggle and hopefully not, but conflict, um, that all of these new opportunities and potentials start arising.
yeah,
So
definitely.
um, we are in a period of intense change and intense potential, and I'm just really wondering what's gonna happen even in the next 10 years, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
No, in the next
yeah.
5 years, and we have now the technology. We have right now the convergence of so many things, and if something these series have taught us, Derek, is that we're much more than the actual history that we know of. We are much more than the actual interactions that we have in this planet. The cosmic interactions. And we're much more than the simple personal or familial consequences that we have. We have fundamental consequences that are part of the existence of God the Supreme. We are being co creators with Him and with the rest of the universe and the unfoldment of this universe. So that really puts us in a very important situation. And once you look at it and you see the situation and you see all the chaos that we're going in, like you're saying, nothing comes out of a stable or status quo. It comes out of all the chaos. So It's exciting times, and I see that what we're doing and what's happening. Not only with and not to take in and say, okay, we have the only truth, because truth is for everybody. Truth is not owned by anybody. It's owned. It's universal. It's God.
Yeah,
So if through us you can get to that universal truth, be it so. If there are many other paths that you can get to that truth, take them, please. Our here our invite or our invitation and our yes, what we assure or guarantee you is that if you go into this personal quest where you find your vocation and you start to find your place and understand that relationship that you have with God, everything in your life will become better, and life is going to happen regardless. It's just the way that you live it, right?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So I guess another thing that comes into this, and something that's been hiding behind what we've been talking about, what we've been framing the Urantia book as.
Hmm.
We've been framing it as an emergency revelation, right?
Hmm.
To get us to change our trajectory back. But if you look back at the only other example that we have of an emergency bestowal is Melchizedek, right? And what did he
Yeah,
come here to do? He came to reignite the light of truth, which you could make a parallel
yeah,
with
yeah,
us. Um, but he also came to prepare the way for what's coming next.
yeah, yeah,
And that is another thing that a lot of Urantia book readers speculate about, is what's next.
yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot there, because um, we could have a situation where Adam and Eve come back. I'm not sure if that would happen, but many of his children are being held in reserve, and nobody knows why, on the constellation headquarters planet. So what are they doing there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, and Machiventa Melchizedek is now our vice regent planetary prince.
yeah.
Um, what is the next bestowal for us, because we're so out of order, right? So
Yeah, we're so special in that
yeah,
chronology that we can't really, based on other experiences.
yeah,
And this is interesting. I just want to add to that, Derek, that there is in fact the promise, because there is a personal connection to this planet of Jesus of coming back. So that is not ruled out as well. We're not
that's
saying
right.
that he's going
He's
to come and
promised to
appear
come back.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
So
yeah,
so those are all promises, and those are all potentials,
yeah.
basically.
So basically, what we're saying is there's no way to tell what's coming next. but
And how
prepare.
we can
Yeah,
exactly let's
yeah.
I like that term, prepare, the end is coming, which is not
Yeah. Let's
which is
we got
not
to get our cardboard signs out.
yeah, yeah, well, we
Yeah,
have to have our bells. But no, I think that if anything, we have to take out of this, understanding the history, understanding the future, is we're in a pivotal moment,
yeah,
not only in the story of our planet, but in the story of our universe. And once we dimension what this planet, the importance of this planet and what happens here, and also what we do here, everything that we do here as individuals, because of the situation that we're at, really is recorded and really is regarded as, what's really going to be eternal. So any
yeah,
small victory, anything that you do here towards that ideal of becoming uh, one with God, personal relationship with God, is really regarded as very high, given the circumstances where we are. So remember that. I mean, there's a lot of info. By the way, we don't have the exact dates and everything, but Derek will be accompanying us into our new platform that we are setting up in school. We're now going to have a complimentary platform where everything that you hear here, or the guests that are here, we're going to invite them over, where you can have a personal one-on-one interaction with them, and we can explain more of what is here. I know that you guys have a lot of questions. I mean, of course, who
yeah,
doesn't, and the
yeah,
idea is here to explain that. There's a lot of information, a lot of people from our community are also going to be there that all can also point you out and different share with you, but not teach you, but really share their experiences where you can really understand and find by yourself all the resources, because this is personal. Like we said, we're here
Yeah,
to give you the personal tools for you to have this personal relationship with God.
that's right.
So Derek, before we leave, anything that you want to put up into this? I mean, we can keep on the speculation later on
No,
in
yeah,
when we have
sure.
you there.
I think the purpose of this final segment of us speculating like this is to show two things. One, that we don't have all the answers. There is a lot of expansive information in the Urantia book, but a lot of it is the old idea of you've got lots of answers, but now you have even more questions, right? And the way that the information in the book is presented in a way that creates more curiosity in you. You want to look into these things more. You want to learn more. It ignites the
Yeah.
hunger in you for truth even more than you had when you first dive into
Yeah.
the book, right?
You understand that there's so many other things there that you can find information about, that
That's
you
right.
just want to go there, right?
That's right. And the other thing that we'll point out and maybe land on is that even the people who are writing these papers, the beings that are gifting us this information and writing the papers that are in the book, tell us that sometimes they're speculating too, because they don't have all the answers.
It's not in
The only,
their jurisdiction or
yeah,
and what they can
the
do. Yeah.
the only level that you can actually have all the answers at is God, the universal Father, right at the top. Anything below that is just, it's sub-absolute. It's not complete. And
Yeah.
all of the beings that function on these lower levels, they come to a point where they have to speculate as well. And there's
Yeah.
a lot of places in the Urantia book where they will sit us down and say, this is the information. This is what you need to know. This is sort of where we think it might be going, but we got to tell you, we're not sure either. We're speculating. And
Yeah.
I think that is awesome.
Because
Yeah.
it makes you
So,
part of it, they're not put be above you, they're brothers
yeah,
in that sense,
that's right.
we have the same questions, and you guys are working on your stuff, we're working on our stuff, and together we're working in this universe.
That's
Yeah.
right. And it really, really goes a long way towards 2,000 years down the road, not having something like the Urantia book deified like the Bible is.
Yeah, definitely. That's
Yeah.
something that we do not believe should happen, and
No,
it's a tool for the teachings and the philosophy of the brotherhood of God and the fatherhood of man.
that's all it is.
The fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man. Sorry, and that's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's that simple. And
Yeah.
if that becomes law and that becomes the end in itself, it's not. That's just a tool. The end in
Yeah.
itself is that
Yeah.
relationship with God.
It's a manual. It's a manual.
It's a manual, exactly.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
worship a manual.
No.
You can give it credit, but
Yeah.
it's the information that is in there that's really important.
Yeah.
Awesome, Derek. So I think we can close the series here. I'm really excited, and this starts a new chapter in what we're going to be doing. Going and doing the conversations and expanding into other topics. But it's been really wonderful. I really enjoyed it. I think not only me, but to a lot of UB readers as well. You brought a lot of light and a lot of conclusions that we hadn't reached before that were really, really good to us. So I really give you thanks for enlightening me a lot. You did a great job.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a real education, and I really enjoyed it. It's awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother.
Thank you.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
And thanks to all that were here. Remember to like, subscribe, share, comment with people about this they might like and find interest in this. So till next time, I'm Santiago Kneeland. Take care and carpe diem. On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.